Today we're going to be talking about some bathroom issues while you're out on the run. And maybe you know about this, maybe you don't, but running can have a negative effect on your tummy, possibly causing you to make some inopportune stops. Now, I think most runners have run into some tummy problems at some point, but in this video we're going to be talking about some tips to avoid it as best you can. Let's get into it. Alright guys, I did come across a good article in Canadian Running Magazine again. Canadian Running Magazine is really just it's a perfect website for these bite-sized running tip articles. Anyway, this article is titled Runners, How to Fix Your Tummy Troubles. And of course I'll place a link in the show notes below in case you want to check out that article for yourself. So have you ever been running and you're running along and you're feeling good and then all of a sudden you have just a desperate need to go to the loo? Well, how do you deal with it? Drop a comment and let me know. No, in all seriousness, I guess I don't want to read about this all day, but I guess you don't have to be very detailed. You can just paint it with broad strokes. Let me know what happened, how you dealt with it. And in all likelihood, whether you drop a comment or not, you have probably experienced it because exercise-induced GI distress is very common among runners. And it can significantly affect people of any age and any ability. So don't think because you're new, it's only happening to you. It can happen to people at the top of their game. If you're interested, you can also look up this actual thing happening to some very high-end runners. I always think of Paula Radcliffe back in 2004, but it's happened to a lot of people before then and since then. But just because it's normal doesn't mean it's fun. And hopefully if we can understand the reasons why this GI distress might happen, hopefully we can prevent it. And if not prevent it, at least make it so it's not such an emergency where we have to stop what we're doing at that exact moment. Let's give ourselves some time so we can actually get to a loo. Now the article does cite one study as showing that GI distress was actually prevalent. The article says prevalent in 30 to 90% of runners that run long distances. Now, they don't say what a long distance is, but it doesn't matter. Long distance, right? And of course, the reasons for it vary among runners, but there are a few common themes. So let's go through those themes. Okay, number one, the actual act of running can actually jostle your stomach, and that can give you GI distress, which can lead to diarrhea or bloating. Number two, as you exercise, your GI tract can actually change how it absorbs and regulates water and electrolytes and everything that's in there. Now, this can happen especially in hot weather. Number three, your gut hormones that actually regulate digestion, so think leptin and ghrelin, they are released in response to exercise. Now, these changes, they're very important when it comes to having energy available, but they can also lead to GI distress. Now, this next one is the one that I have heard the most, and when I think about it, this is the reason that I'm thinking. But during exercise, when we're running, our muscles need more blood in order to function. And when more blood goes to your muscles that are helping you run, that means less blood is going to your GI tract. And when that GI tract has less blood flow, it can lead to delayed gastric emptying, which is the process when the food leaves your stomach and goes into your small intestine. Next up, dehydration. Dehydration just makes everything worse. And by everything worse, I mean it can increase your risk of developing GI issues, and if you already have them, dehydration will make it worse. Next up, exercise can also weaken your esophageal sphincter. Now, when you have a weak sphincter, esophageal sphincter, that means that you are at a higher risk of experiencing acid reflux while you're running. So just think, that little sphincter is closed, and when it gets weak, all that stomach acid comes up and you get that burning feeling in your chest. I know that I experience that every once in a while. Okay, so now let's move on to actually how we can prevent this, because this is a bit of a nightmare. Now, personally, I'm very lucky because around where I live, there are a lot of bathrooms, or at least the routes that I choose to run have a lot of bathrooms. There's also a lot of construction, so there are just porta potties everywhere. So for me, at least when I'm running around my house, there's really no reason that I can't find a porta potty or somewhere to run into. But let's talk about prevention, and the article just gives us something, I don't know how good it is, but the article says that it's important to plan your meals around your run. Now, that's obvious to ensure proper fueling, but eating foods that are high in fiber, fat, sugar, alcohol, protein right before your run, that can actually increase your risk of GI distress because they take longer to digest. That makes sense, right? Also, consuming too much sugar in one go can also lead to GI distress. So think about taking a gel and then washing it down with some sports drink. That can lead to GI distress unless you have trained yourself appropriately, right? That's if you haven't trained using those gels or with that sport drink, you're really rolling the dice. You don't know what's going to happen. So really, when I read this about how to stop GI distress, it makes me think about running being such a simple sport, right? A simple and cheap sport. All you do is throw on some shorts, put on some shoes and go out for a run and you're all set. But it actually turns out that we need gear, we need several pairs of shoes, and apparently we need to put a lot of thought into when and what we eat and the timing of our foods before our runs. I'm realizing that this is the reason that I don't like to eat before I go for a run. It's just too much hassle. If I eat after my run, I'm just done with it, right? I don't have to worry about anything. But now that I've said that, get this. You know how if you eat too much or you eat the wrong foods, that can make GI distress more likely? Well, so can underfueling. So if you fail to meet your overall energy needs, that can affect your GI system. So instead of skipping that meal or skipping that snack before you go for a run because you're trying to avoid GI issues, it could actually have the opposite effect. So with that, I don't know. I mean, gotta eat, right? Guess it comes down to just getting used to whatever you're eating and kind of knowing yourself. I think Socrates said something about that. So obviously Socrates was a runner. But talking about practicing, the article actually mentions that exactly. We've got to practice gut training. So while you're out there training for your runs, training for your 5K, 10K, whatever race you're doing, while you're training for that, you're also training your gut. You're not just training your heart, your muscles. The gut training is included in all that training. So just as you would slowly build up your volume, build up the time on your feet, you want to train your gut to slowly handle food before and during your race. And this is my very favorite part of this article. So it does tell us to practice eating snacks before and during your runs so you can build it up to like your goal level. And it makes a suggestion of maybe starting with half a banana. Sounds good, right? I can handle that. Half a banana doesn't seem too bad. But then it goes on that you should build up from that half a banana to a whole banana on an English muffin with honey. Now, hold on. I believe Canadian running is telling me that I need to practice eating a whole banana on an English muffin with honey while I'm running. That seems like a bit of a challenge. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not up for it, but I'd like to see someone else do it first. So I can't be the only one that reads Canadian Running Magazine, but if you have read this and you think this is something that you would like to try, remember a whole banana. It doesn't say if it's cut up on that English muffin, but a whole banana on an English muffin with honey while you're running and you're videoing yourself and you post that on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, I don't know. Make sure you tag me. I'd love to see it. But aside from the banana, English muffin and honey, the article also suggests graham crackers, applesauce, bananas, dates, dry cereal, a granola bar and gummy candies. The only thing with gummy candies is that when I'm chewing them, it kind of makes my heart rate jump up higher than where I want it. Like I've tried to eat gummies in a race before, but because when I'm racing, my heart rate is like right on that edge, like I'm right on that threshold. When I try and chew gummies and I'm trying to chew and I'm nom nom nom, it's just a pain. And my heart rate goes through the roof and it's never as easy as I think it's going to be. So generally I stay away from gummy candies. Anyway, now I want to hear from you. I mean, I already told you what I wanted to hear from you about, like your experience on the run, but also I want to hear about what you actually eat before and during your run. I gotta say, it hasn't been since before I've been training to do ultra marathons that I would actually practice eating on my run. And back in those days, I'd have my pack with my fluid and I would just pack a couple bananas and I would practice actually pulling them out and peeling a banana and eating it while I'm running. That must have been a sight. Anyway, it's Matt B. I hope you never have to deal with GI distress on the run. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days. Guys, I realized I forgot to give you an emoji in this video. So if you are still here, if you have made it to this point in the video, I want you to add like that little roll of toilet paper emoji, because if you need it, you are guaranteed to not have it when you're out on a run. Anyway, be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.